terms of trainings, and just to confirm if you mean the trainings that I've conducted or the trainings that I've attended.
The trainings you've undertaken, like this one even on HR,
Okay.
that you've undertaken. You have a diploma, I've
Yes,
seen
yeah,
in
a
that from
postgraduate
Kenya Institute
diploma.
of Management, and you've masters in international human rights. So
Yes.
those courses that you've undertaken outside the law-related,
Yes.
courses, those are the ones I'm referring to.
So on human resource management, that is one of the courses that is very key when it comes to running the stations, especially as a head of station. You're managing human resource so as to drive the vision of the judiciary, because as an individual, even if I'm the head of station, I cannot work alone. I have to depend on the persons at the registry so as to achieve the goals of the judiciary. That is very key. And also in international human rights, it has shaped my way of operation, because I'm more responsive to the social needs of the people. And if I can mention one of instances, the first day I reported in Karatina, there were no cells at the time. There were two rooms, wooden rooms, which were being used as the holding cells for the persons in custody. And inside those rooms, there were buckets, two buckets, that were used as the toilets. And you can imagine, as an accused person, you're in custody the whole day, you're in a room together with human waste, you have to stay with it the whole day. And when I inquired why that was the reason, I was told it's because there was no enough manpower in terms entitled to the rights as provided for in the Constitution, which includes freedom from inhuman and degrading. Found uh, the judiciary, when I take responsibility on behalf of the judiciary, as at that time, it had a duty of care, and it had a duty to treat its people with dignity, and also observing their freedom from such kind of inhumane and humiliating kind of treatment. And out of that, I wrote to the chief registrar as a matter of urgency, seeking for funds to have cells built and decent washrooms even for the members of staff and our court users. And by the time I was leaving Karatina, the work was about 70% done. But I know right now we have one of the best cells that
The JOs and the judges are quick to take this option, and to an extent that it gives an impression of avoiding pulling their weight on their actual responsibility of determining disputes, because the responsibility of the judiciary is to determine disputes, and to parties are more or less put under pressure to take that option, so that the judiciary itself, the responsible officers, they do not do their work. So how do you prevent that system, ADS and AJR, being used as a default kind of option, so that the judiciary takes its responsibility for which it was set up, which is to resolve these disputes?
Commissioner, I think as an AJS champion, the first thing that comes in mind in matters before us is whether the matter is suitable for dispute resolution and other forms of dispute resolution other than the formal justice system. And if you look at 159, the Constitution itself has mandated us to promote the use of alternative dispute resolution mechanisms under Article 159. And also, we remember the power of the people. We exercise our judicial authority on public trust. If you look at Article 1 of the Constitution, the sovereign power belongs to the people. And that sovereign power has been delegated to us, or has been given to us by the people, so as to resolve these disputes. And when we encourage the use of ADR or AJS or other forms of dispute resolution mechanism outside the court, we are giving back the power to the people to resolve their own disputes. Commissioner, you know that we cannot legislate on reconciliation, and neither can we order party to forgive one another, because that would have been so easy. Every party that comes to court will be ordering them as a judicial decree. You've been ordered to forgive one another, or you've been ordered to reconcile. But in promoting the ADR, we are giving back the power of resolving disputes to the people. And even before the courts came to be, we had our elders, our ancestors. They were still resolving disputes, because whenever there is man, there is always a dispute. That does not mean because there were no courts at the time that the disputes were not being resolved. So I think as a judicial officer, you have to have that balancing act. You get to know what you're going to deal with as a judicial officer and what you're going now to take back to the people to resolve. And in most of these alternative dispute resolution, if you look at the ADR, the parties must agree to, in the ADR agreement, that in case of dispute, the first thing to go for is arbitration. So the parties must consent into that. On AJS, we do not order parties to go for AJS system. It's a system where it's voluntary. If one party is agreeable to the dispute resolution mechanism and the other party is not agreeable, you cannot send that matter to be resolved under the AJS mechanism. So consent is very key in this area.
Thank you, Justice Wasami.
Thank you, Honorable CJ. Your Honor, I request that you speak up.
Okay.
Let's have a discussion on, you said you have stayed in that court for 4 years.
In Shanzu?
Yes.
Yes, I'll be 4 years in April next year.
Okay.
Yes.
In view of what Judge Ibrahim has raised, is it tenable for you to stay there for 4 years because of the stakeholders? Is there a possibility of stakeholders capture by the court, and that they're the ones who keeping you in Shanzu?
My Lord Commissioner, as I had mentioned before,
Yes.
when you're dealing with the donor partners, you have to maintain the independence of the judiciary as an institution and also in decision making. So as much as the CJ or the CRJ want me to be in Shanzu, it's based on the administration, not our partners.
So it is the judiciary that has kept you for 4 years, not the stakeholders?
No. Because if you look at my past in the judiciary, I stay, apart from Nanyuki, in Karatina, Othaya, Embu, I stayed for an average period of 4 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Primarily, that is a court that was established for drugs-related cases.
Yes.
And terrorism-related cases.
Yes.
And in your 4 sample writings, you have only attached one relating with the terrorism.
Yes.
Or drug-related. Why?
As I mentioned in my introduction, Shanzu Court is a unique court in that it deals with city cases, it deals with drug-related cases, it deals with other transnational organized crimes. We deal with the normal criminal matters, and now we have the SGBV court. So it's a hybrid. It's not purely a city court, but you're working towards making the court a city court, and that is an area where we've engaged the Office of the Chief Justice, and the partners have engaged the Office of the Chief Justice and also the Chief Registrar to see if we can offload most of those cases to Mtwapa. When the CJ was launching the SGBV court, she was handed over 1 acre of land in Mtwapa, which is just neighboring Shanzu Court. And that is an area, my lord, that it can be considered to have a court built so that we can offload most of these cases and have the Shanzu Court remain as it was initially, as a city court.
Okay. Now let's go to one of your cases, the case of John Kinyua.
Yes.
The guy was charged with unlawful acquisition of public property worth 1.8 million. You can remember that case?
Yes, sir.
Which you dealt with. From the evidence and from your analysis, this is what you said. Money was accessible to the accused, but there is no evidence that he withdrew the money. And in the final analysis, you acquitted this guy, despite the fact that public money was transferred to his account, and even after the time he left, the money was still in his account. But you said money was in his account, but there is no evidence that he withdrew the money. So why? I'm not questioning your independence,
Yes.
but what was the basis? And you have the right to be wrong or right.
Yes, my lord, if you read the entire judgment, the position was that when I compared the bank statement of Kenya Re and the bank statement of the accused, at no time did money leave the account of Kenya Re. So unless I read the entire context so as to know why that sentence is, but if you read the entire judgment, you'll see that, and the reason for acquittal was that there was no possession of the public money,
Yes.
because the money was still at the bank account of Kenya Re, where the accused person was accused of using that money. And in comparison of the bank statement of Kenya Re and the bank statement of the accused, there was evidence that the money never left the bank account of Kenya Re. So Kenya Re still had the money, and at no time did the money, or was the money transferred to the account of the accused person. So my lord, I invite you to have a look at the entire judgment.
Okay, I've read the entire judgment. That is not the correct position, but you have the right to be wrong. Then in that case also, one of the issues which you raised is whether the trial was a nullity by failure to provide consent of the DPP. That's one of the issues you framed.
Yes, yes.
And you correctly refer to the case rendered by Justice Jairus Nga, which interpreted correctly, in my view, Section 35 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act. But what you said that, however, as discussed, under the ASECA, written consent is not mandatory, and failure to provide the same is not fatal to the prosecution case. While you referred to what Judge Nga said, and he said written consent is important, but nonetheless, you correctly framed the issue, and you said written consent is not mandatory, and failure to provide the same is not fatal to the prosecution case. In view of the the recent decision by the High Court, do you still maintain that position?
Okay, I have not had the privilege of looking at the decision of the High Court, so I cannot comment on that.
Because the case which you referred to by Justice, a prosecution for an offense under this act shall not be instituted except with the written consent of the Attorney General, and no further proceeding shall be taken until the consent has been obtained. That's what you referred to, and that's what Judge Jairus has correctly stated. So do you still maintain that position?
My lord, if my memory serves me right, before the ASICA,
Yes.
that was the position where the DPP was to give written consent, but under the ASICA, the written consent was not necessary.
Okay, you need to look at that. Okay, my last question, for this is also a matter which you dealt with. For an offense of conspiracy to succeed, there are certain ingredients.
Yes.
Is intention one of them?
For that offense to succeed, you must show that there was a meeting of the minds. Intention alone is not enough, but you must show there was a meeting of the mind between person A and person B, because it's an offense that must be committed by 2 or more persons.
So, what is your position? Is intention one of the factors or not?
Thinking on my feet, I think it's important, because there must be the guilty mind and the guilty act.
Okay, because you need to look at that, because you have correctly stated the correct version. And lastly, there are offenses called offenses of strict liability,
Yes.
where intention need not be proved. In Shanzu court, somebody is charged with terrorism.
Yes.
He is found with all the necessary gadgets for committing certain crimes. He puts a defense saying that he did not intend to commit the crime. And these gadgets which he is carrying is for other use. How will you determine that case?
On matters terrorism, my lord.
Start
Those
from where I
are-
started.
Okay.
Strict liability offenses.
So for strict liability offenses is where you don't need to prove the guilty mind. In cases of, for example, like defilement, an accused person can say
Guilty
he
mind or
don't-
intention?
Pardon?
Is it guilty mind or intention?
So I'm not getting your question, my lord.
You
Or I'm
said
not decoding.
yes.
Yes.
I'm saying strict liability offenses. The ingredient, is it guilty mind or intention?
I would talk of the guilty mind.
Okay, proceed.
Yeah, guilty mind. For example, if it's a person selling alcohol to a minor, you can say you didn't know that the minor was underage. In cases of sexual offenses, one of the defense is that you thought the victim.
Thank you, thank you, Chair, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just to go back to what my colleague Justice Wasame asked you, Commissioner Wasame asked you, is it possible? Is it fatal to a charge of conspiracy to charge only one person?
Based on the ingredients for an offense of conspiracy to stand, it's an offense where you have to have 2 or more persons, where the guilty minds or the minds come with an intent to defraud or to commit an offense.
So can you charge one person with conspiracy? I mean, there were many people involved, but the prosecution decided to charge one person. Is that charge fatal?
I think when you frame the charge as together with others, not before court, I think it qualifies.
It's fatal or it's not?
It's not.
It's
When you
not,
say
okay.
together with others, not
Others.
before court.
Okay. I can see you did some human rights work. I mean, you have a master's in human rights.
Yes.
So can you tell us and illustrate for us, tell us what, and we're dealing with, Article 27.
That is
Article
on
27?
Discrimination.
Yes, prohibition of discrimination on various grounds. So tell us the difference between discrimination and differentiation, and illustrate to us with any one decided case or any example where that distinction comes out.
On discrimination is where you treat a person or group of person differently based on their race, gender, or association, or inclination to a particular way. And differentiation, that one I've got no idea.
Differentiation, it's a very important distinction when you become a judge.
I
It's
need
one
to
of the
look at
things
it.
you'll need to look at. Finally, I just want to take you to the law of insolvency. Are you familiar with the law of insolvency?
Yes.
Okay. There is a principle there called the Paripasu Principle. Have you ever heard of it?
I've come across it, but I can't remember.
Okay, put it this way. So what is the general principle underlying the law of insolvency with regard to creditors?
Under the Insolvency Act, the creditors are given priority when it comes to a company that is under insolvency. When it comes to liquidation, the creditors are given value for their money. Yeah.
Does the law treat secured creditors and unsecured creditors alike?
The secured creditors have priority over unsecured creditors.
Okay. And why is that, if that is the position?
I'll have to look at that.
Okay. Thank you very much and wish you well, and thank you, Chair.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you,
you
Chair.
very much, Commissioner Ngutia.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, I have two questions. Yesterday, we don't even know what celebration we were having. Was it Utamaduni or Huduma Day? But I know the world was celebrating the World Day Against Death Penalty. Are you an abolitionist or a retentionist when it comes to the death penalty?
I'm not
Abolitionist meaning it should be done away with. Retentionist meaning it should be retained, the death penalty as a sentence.
Going by the decisions by the Supreme Court, and in particular Morwateto, where the death penalty was outlawed, I think I would go by that.
Are you sure that the Murateto decision
Sorry,
outlawed the
sorry.
death penalty?
No, it outlawed the mandatory death penalty.
Okay.
Sorry for that. It outlawed the mandatory death penalty. But when it comes to the Constitution has given the right to life, but which is also limited. So under the circumstances, and also looking at the country, we've not heard of a case where death penalty has been executed, because even if we sentence a person to death, it's commuted to life imprisonment. So I think I would be for the school of thought that it should be done away with.
It should be done away with.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My second question, we have seen a number of our girls, mostly our girls, going through a number of human rights violations when they go to Middle East countries. A matter is brought before you surrounding a girl who went to Saudi Arabia or whichever country in the Middle East and comes back home injured and unable to speak. What would you want to see the petition have? The type of violations, one, and number two, the parties to that petition. Whom would you hope that the petitioners would sue in that particular constitutional petition?
Thinking on my feet, I think when it comes to such kind of the petition, the respondent should be the state, because the state has a duty to protect its people. And again, you cannot exercise jurisdiction in foreign countries.
Which state agencies in particular?
I would
The
think of
judiciary is part
immigration.
of state, so would you sue the judiciary?
The immigration, I think, would be one,
Why immigration?
because it should satisfy itself that when this person is going to the Middle East, this person is going to deal with particular kind of job. And also the embassy, I'd also think of the embassy in that particular country.
So embassy is still under the foreign affairs.
Yes, foreign affairs.
Which other government agency?
None that comes to mind as at now.
The employment agencies are under what ministry?
Ministry of Labor.
Mhm.
Mm.
Okay, in terms of the prayers, what would you want the petition? What prayers would you want to see in that petition?
One of them is a declaration that the rights have been violated. And two is a prayer seeking
Which
for,
rights in particular?
slavery. I don't know how to phrase it, but it's in the Constitution.
Yeah, just proceed. Yes, the issue
Yeah.
of slavery.
Inhumane and degrading treatment.
Mhm.
I don't think of any other right now.
Okay, lastly, other than the Constitution, which treaty or convention would you want the petition to have at least mentioned?
There's the
And kindly speak up, yeah.
ICE on economic and social rights.
Mhm.
International convention, I can't remember, but there is a economic and social something.
Mhm.
And I think also the ICCPR and
Yes,
also
proceed.
the UN Declaration on Human Rights. And there's a covenant against slavery,
Mhm.
but I can't remember the title. of
Within the
same.
African setup, the regional.
There's the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. And also, since most of these persons are women, we can use the Maputo Protocol. That is what I have
Thank
in
you.
mind right now.
Thank you so much and wishing you the very best.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Gishoy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just 2 points of discussion to Madam Florence, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Are you head of station in Shanzu?
Yes, I'm the head of station.
Just before I come to my question, I would just wanted to reflect on what Honorable the Vice Chair did ask. I visited Shanzu Court, so I
Yes.
think sometimes last year. And the head of that station, what I saw as a commissioner was not something very pleasing, particularly on the way the inmates were being handled, chained, basically in the sun, all of them together. Has the situation changed? If you reflect on what you did in Karatina and
Yes,
what
ma'am.
was happening in Shanzu last year.
So, my lord, I remember the time you visited together with Commissioner Olwande, though I was away on other official duties as delegated by the Chief Justice. But at that time when you came, there was the expansion of the court that was taking place. And it affected the cells that were already in place. So if the courtroom was, and what was operating was only one courtroom to be shared among 3 magistrates. So, but as you visit the court now, the courtroom is over. We have several cells.
So it has changed.
Yes.
No longer outside in the sun and
Yes, in
holding
fact,
those
the,
things.
the CJ was in Shanzu early this year when she was
Okay.
launching the
Thanks.
SGBV.
Yes, I
and she
was
can
getting
testify.
worried because if that's what was happening in Karatina, I thought you could do better in Shanzu. If the situation has improved, thanks a lot. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now to my questions. You want to join the High Court,
Yes.
which is one of our superior courts. When they are doing their stakeholder analysis, they actually identified the national government and the county government, the
Yes.
spirit of devolution, as very key stakeholders. I want you to focus on the national government, the expectations the national government has to the High Court. When you finish that, you look at the expectation the county government would have as far as the High Court is concerned. Those two. Start with the national government. What
So
do
that
the,
question is a bit tricky. Maybe I've not understood what you want
the
from me.
stakeholders analysis? The national government is a key stakeholder in the
Yes.
High Court.
Mhm.
And I can give you an example. One of the expectations of the national government is accountability in the execution of the High Court's mandate. Can you be able to duplicate that to the county government? What do the county government expect from the High Court in your day-to-day operations? as a judge?
I think in terms of promotion of devolution, because one of the principles and values of devolution is to have the state functions devolved, and one of them is to have the High Court in every county, which is the dream of the Chief Justice.
Let's
So I
be
don't know
more
if I've got
specific.
it.
The High Court in Mombasa.
Yes.
What is the expectations of the High Court in Mombasa? What do they expect from the county government of Mombasa? The High Court in Mombasa, where you sit as a judge, what will be your expectations from the county government? What do you expect the county government to do to support the High Court?
So in terms of services,
Whatever
that are-
form,
Pardon?
just share with us what you would expect.
yeah, in terms of services, and I'm not sure if I got it wrong, but I'll answer because I've understood in terms of what we'd expect the county government to do to us as the judiciary. One of them is a provision of services in terms of water, but I'm not sure. I didn't get your question, my lord.
But I'm asking the county government of Mombasa, what do they expect the High Court of Mombasa to do for them to discharge the responsibilities as an arm of government? Apart from providing water services, what else?
Okay. In terms of what the judiciary would do for the county government, one is if we think of election petitions, is that one of them? Because I'm still struggling to understand your question.
Okay, let's leave that out. My last question is, the president has just come from the Republic of Ethiopia,
Yes.
and also from the Republic of Uganda, and also Tanzania. What was the focus of his tour or his visit to those three countries? What was the focus?
Is to promote the diplomatic relations between the countries.
No, you have embassies in Ethiopia, you have embassies in Uganda, you have it in Dar es Salaam. What was the focus of those visits?
On economic development,
In terms of what?
sustaining the development programs in the region.
Did you get a chance to look at the papers this morning?
No.
Okay, thank you, Chef.
Thank
you, Florence.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Professor?
Can I assume you are looking at your notes to come for the interview, not the papers?
I was just putting in some notes so as
Yeah.
to understand the questions.
Yeah, those
As put
together, okay.
across, yes.
I have one question for you, Your Honor. Studies, because I was reading something, like studies show that emotionally intelligent leaders outperform their less emotionally intelligent colleagues. You know, if you think about the lawyers, they say that they outperform even in revenue or even in production. And even the same study says they even get promoted, you know, and they get bonuses compared to their less emotionally intelligent people.
Yes.
So why would you think, you know, this may be true? In other words, what is so important about this emotional intelligence that can even make people produce more, get bonuses, get promoted, or if they're lawyers, even get more revenue?
So when it comes to emotional intelligence, is how you manage your own emotions and temperaments, and also you get to appreciate the emotions of the people that are surrounding you. So when it comes, for example, like in my station, I have to understand the temperaments of my staff so that we can be able to improve on service delivery.
You know, you have told me what it is, but you have not answered my question. Why do you agree with these people who say maybe those who are more highly have high emotional intelligence may get promoted more, get bonuses, even get more revenue compared to those who are not as, you know, emotionally intelligent. Your definition is right, but how does that affect how they work and their performance? Generally.
I think because of they are able to respond to the needs, and in responding to the needs, they are able to act on that, as opposed to someone who is not able to identify the loopholes. That is what I would think about.
And they're able to get, along with networks, colleagues, they're much more.
Yes.
How will you have this one I think was asked by Commissioner Macharia on HR, so I'll skip it, and that is it.
Okay, thank you. Madam Commissioner.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rwanda.
Thank you, my lady. Good afternoon once again,
afternoon,
Honorable
Commissioner.
Macharia. Yes, I am aware of what you have done at Shanzu, and I'm glad also the situation that was referred to by my brother, Commissioner Gishoy, has been resolved, and I just want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
I don't have much to ask you, just straight to your performance. You are doing well as a station and also individually. I'm aware you are ahead of station, but you are carrying more or less fairly your weight. Your output is at 32% as against the expected 33, which I think is not bad. Your case clearance rate as compared to the national average is good. Also your productivity is good. I think you're doing well. What doesn't look too good is your corruption prevalence index. I think you need to work in that area. I've looked at your application. The application is complete in its details. I have no issue to raise with you on the vetting documents. The background report we have on you is that you have good grasp of the law. Your judgments are well balanced. You are good at promoting reconciliation. You are calm and a good mentor. Someone out there is wondering at the religion you practice, but I think religion is highly personal, so I'm not going to ask you any question on that. I wish you well. Thank you, my lady.
And maybe allow me to mention on performance of the station. I wish to report to this commission that in the performance PMMU evaluation report that was released early this year, Shanzu Court was the most improved court in the country with a performance of 100%, and we look forward to maintaining that position and even performing better after the evaluation which is taking place later this month. Thank you.
Congratulations for that too. I didn't have that report, but then congratulations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Macharia, for that lively interaction with the commissioners. That brings us to the end of the interview. But before we end, I'll give you an opportunity to ask us any question, if you have any.
I don't have a question, but I would like to thank this commission for giving me an opportunity to come and prove to this commission why I should be nominated to the office of the High Court Judge. And two, I wish you the best as you come up with the names, because getting 20 people out of 104 is quite a task for you, but we have faith in you that you will get the best team for the judiciary that will promote the public confidence, and again, which will, at the end of the day, improve the image of the judiciary to the world out there.
Thank you very much. We wish you all the best. We will be in touch when we complete the exercise.
Thank you,
Keep up the
Madam
good
Chair.
work that you're doing in Chanzu.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, have a nice day.
Have a lovely afternoon.